Center for Democratic Development, Affectivistis, Our Hub, and Yaga Africa launched something called Demo Creatives in Nigeria. And some creatives from the West Africa sub-region were there. They met to discuss ways of empowering creatives to take active roles in democracy in the various countries. Yes, let me give you a bite of what happened during that encounter.
West Africa, there are huge governance challenges. Young people in their millions are feeling despondent. They are feeling that even democracy is not working. It's not delivering the dividends that would improve their welfare. So some people say, oh, why don't we just get military governments and so on and so forth. I think everybody understands that any true society that will develop and be sustainable, you have to have rights. You have to be able to express yourself. You have to be able to live in freedom. So there's really no alternative to democracy. But what we have to do is recognize the problem and confront it. And one of the best ways to do that is use every resources we have in society, which I believe an area we have neglected is the use of our creatives. What can they contribute? You know, if the people who have so much influence in terms of their music, their art, their actors, how can they also raise their voice to address some of these challenges and move people so that we can begin to overcome the challenges that we are having?
Throughout history, we have seen the arts ignite revolutions, sustain movements for change. We know the story of Fela Anikulapo Kuti and many others that had and that have been targeted by governments across the continent, across the world really. Take the NSAS for instance, where a young man was killed by police and his vehicle stolen by said police, which of course angered all of us. And this is a common theme, by the way, but it was captured by bystanders and shared on social media. An activist spoke up and came out to protest, but it was like a whimper until artists spoke up and joined the movement with the likes of Owls, Runtown, Wizkid, P Square, Davido, Burna Boy, you name it, many more. It became the NSAS we all know today.
Now there's a lot of disillusionment. Now everyone wants to japa because of all the economic challenges that we are facing on the continent. But the truth is that all of us cannot japa. So even if the political system is not working for us, we still need a critical mass of people across every industry who can begin to inspire the change we need. So we need inspiring messaging. We need messaging that says that regardless of the difficulties that we find ourselves on our continent, the power is within us to transform, to uphold democratic institutions, to uphold the rule of law, to hold the political leadership accountable. Because the artists have always the most powerful and the influential voice. To date, the biggest demonstration ever held in Ghana in recent times was convened by artists. You know, a couple of days ago when we had severe power crisis, it's the likes of Yvonne Nelson and the Sarkodie's who came together and tens of thousands of people marched on the streets. So artists have that influence, but unless we understand that concept of what that power is, at the end of the day, we'll only be regurgitating messages that we take from abroad, and we'll only be enforcing our plight and our subjugation and not our liberation.
Okay, so you just heard creatives such as Chief Mumin, who is a playwright, DJ Switch, DJ in Nigeria, and then the man I'm about to speak to. He is Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement at CDD Ghana. He was also there. He was the man who spoke first in the tape that I played earlier on. And I have with me Dr. Kujo Pumpuni Asante. Big boss,
Kwame.
Welcome to Showbiz A to Z.
Oh, today I'm really...
good to have you.
I am really happy to be here.
And good to see this, my brother.
You know, it's one of my favorite. It's my favorite shows. You always
I know,
keep
right?
My Saturdays, entertaining. I listen because I like Uncle Ken. I like a lot of the topics that you discuss, and it's always entertaining.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm really happy that I'm on your show today.
And I'm happy to have you. Yeah. So in June, we went for the launch of Demo Creatives.
That's right.
For those listening to us for the first time, what is Demo Creatives? What is it all about?
Well, it's a simple concept. I mean, I think Kwame, and from the clip, I think we all understand what has been going on in the sub-region all these years with the decline in democracy. There's closing spaces. People can't express themselves. We've had military takeovers in places. A lot of young people really calling for a change, in the way we do our politics, our governance. So a lot of issues. And we, because we are democracy promotion, democracy, good governance promotion organization, we have always felt that we cannot just, discard our agency as citizens. If our leaders are not delivering what we want, then we have to mobilize to insist that we get from our leaders, what we deserve. And we need the whole of society to do that. So you have civil society, media is doing their own stuff.
Yeah.
But one of the areas where we have always felt strongly that there's a lot that can be done is in the creative sector. There's a deep relationship between how creatives thrive and how democracies survive or are able to resist. If you think about, if you don't have freedom of expression, you don't have freedom of speech, you don't have freedom of the media, if you even have a great voice, where are you going to express this to the joy of millions of people? Can you go and organize a concert in the stadium and people walk away from there feeling a certain sense of joy and something that in their life they will always remember? That creative expression only happens when you have a democracy that is thriving, that allows for these opportunities. So it is so fundamental. One of the Yaga Africa deputy director mentioned that in a way, being creative is being human, because when you are born, the first expression that you give is to cry.
Yes.
And everybody knows that once you cry, that we're talking about a human being. And so in any way, we are all creative in that sense, right? And the whole idea was then we also needed to mobilize this section of society to be able to, contribute to this counter force, to try to claim rights that for us makes us thrive, makes us human, makes us dignified in what we do. So that has been the effort. It's an effort that we have been talking about for the last 2 years. We eventually did the activation in Lagos. And we are trying to do, after that, we've had other conversations. We'll talk about a bit about that.
So let's talk about the activation, the launch that happened in Nigeria. How did it go?
It was fantastic. I have not been in a place where there's so much energy. You were there. I mean, we had Killer Ace from Gambia, Sister LB from Senegal. We had artists, we had cartoonists. MI was there. MI Baga from Nigeria was there. Chief Mumin was there. We had Rocky Dawuni, So it was, but just the energy.
So too much.
It was incredible, and I was very tired. But
maybe you should have done a part 2 of that, or maybe a day 2 of that, which would maybe comprise a concert.
A concert, and trust me, we have grand plans, and so one of the things we decided to do was that we needed to do mini activations in Nigeria and in Ghana. And in Ghana, because of the elections, there's already a lot of discussion that we are having. So Rocky Dawuni has been really instrumental. He wants to do a peace concert in Accra and Tamale, and we've been trying to raise money for it because he thinks that we need to create a mood, a national unity mood ahead of the election, particularly for young people. And he thinks that he can bring artists together to really build up that momentum as we go to election, instead of some of the noise and other things that we are facing. So I mean that's the power of creatives. Chief Mumin has come to us. He wanted to take some of his shows across the country. Even the School of Performing Arts people wanted to do that. Kofi Kinata. So they are. I think for me, it's just about creating a platform, because, as I said, there's a deep relationship. But we have to be able to understand each other. Maybe people haven't put their mind to it, that their own existence
Yeah.
and survival depends on the kind of democratic systems that we build.
Exactly.
And so they have to contribute to those things. So we are really looking forward to getting more of that. I was at Zen Garden recently, and there was a young artist, Yeyi.
Okay.
He reminds me of, he gives me Fela vibes.
All right.
Where with his
He has the same
with
similar style.
with his shirt off, but you can see it all over the place. People, when even you see artists drawing and stuff like that, and it's like, how do you mobilize all these forces? Because the beautiful thing about art is that the same thing I can say in words, somebody can do in a picture, can be doing a cartoon, somebody doing it, and it's just beautiful to see. So that's really the message. We're trying to see how can we create platform, do this regularly, have conversations periodically, how do we work together, how do we protect each other, all of that. Because one way when you see that a society is in trouble is what they do to their creatives.
Exactly.
If creatives can't sing, can't express themselves, you can't do a poem that is critical, that is satirical, then you know that society is closed.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that we can measure by how well our creatives do in our society.
Now, how do creatives become democratic without being political?
So,
Because you know how people are easily tagged in our part of the world.
Yeah, I think people also have misused the word politics.
Okay.
Because really, there's a difference between being partisan, political, and being political. Because what is politics is really the whole processes of distributing wealth in society, and the contestations we have around it, the agreements we have around it. So, if you Kwame today, you are worried that you're not getting potable water in your house, and you are on radio right now complaining, you are doing politics.
Okay.
Because you are critiquing the supply of quality services to you as a citizen, and that's politics. But if you say, "Oh, I'm an MPP," and then you color that politics with partisanship, and that's where sometimes people say, "Oh no," then you're already biased. You have taken a position.
There are some who don't even come out to say where they stand, but just for the mere fact that they are criticizing a certain condition,
they
are labeled as being against a particular political party.
And we all go through that, whether civil society, media, creatives. I know, with elections coming, some creatives will go and do music for parties and so on, and they will be tagged that, once you've done it, it means you are MPP or NDC or PPP or whatever it is. But I think in all of this, for me, even if that is the case, you should care about whether you have free speech in society.
Okay.
Because that goes to your fundamental existence. You have to care whether we hold our leaders accountable. Because if the economy tanks, as Emma Abanga was saying, when he compares himself to his other creatives in other places. When the Nigerian economy is not doing well or there's inflation or whatever, what he earns there is ridiculous. It doesn't mean anything.
Exactly.
It doesn't have the same value if he was in South Africa or in another place. So he should care about economic decisions that are being made in the country. And there are many different ways of caring about it. You might not be out there championing, but you should support causes. If you've gotten some money or you've gotten some resources, support organizations that are trying to hold leaders accountable, are trying to create an environment for free speech, or for the freedom of the media, independence of the media. There's so many things you can do. So it doesn't mean that you have to be on the streets. It doesn't mean that you have to be out there talking. There are some who are social activists.
Okay.
They care about gender equality. They care about so many other things. They can also do get themselves involved. So when we are talking about democracies, we're just saying that that principle, that idea, that a democratic, thriving society is great for creatives, and we should all work together to make sure that we build democratic societies. where there's inclusion for all.
Joy 99.7 FM, Showbiz A to Z, and we're having a conversation on Democratives, which is an initiative put together by West Africa Democracy Solidarity Network in collaboration with the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, Afrobeats Artist, Yaga Africa. Yeah, this was launched in June in Nigeria, and they have greater or big activities coming up for creatives to make sure that they come together to see ways we can help improve upon our democracy. Usually you see most of these creatives being persecuted, being insulted.
Yep.
I know somebody is listening to you, Charlie, not get involved in all that. What do you have to tell them again if you want to convince somebody to be involved as a creative, be part of Democratives? Sure. What advice do you have for such a person?
So there are creatives whose how do you say, their music or their art form is actually critical of society. They want to deal with social problems. So there are many. I mean, you can talk about some of our artists whose music, like the one we were listening to, where they're making a commentary on politics.
Yes,
very satirical. I mean, very interesting. You know, people who do plays are always taking on a social. So there are people there are some that they feel like, oh, our audience might not understand these nuances, and therefore I don't want to touch it. And that's fine. That's what I'm saying, that you don't have to be out there, but support causes. You know, and sometimes you need to also step up, because if something is wrong in society, you don't say it. It affects all of us. It affects even the audiences that you care about.
Great.
You want their lives to be uplifted.
Great.
And so not speaking up. But if you can't even do that, support causes for that to happen. So I think there are so many different ways we can all join the fight. We can all contribute, or even understand more. So elections are coming.
Yeah.
If you wanted to contribute to anything about election education, civic education, how to vote, whatever, how do you learn that? And I think those collaborations, what we are offering, that, you know, at least we can, for influencers, and understand the get knowledge.
Good.
And so that when you are saying something, you are informed, and you are not actually causing even more damage. Okay,
so does anybody have to get in touch with you to become a Democrative? How do we get to be part of it?
Kwame, you are my first point of contact. If anybody is interested to know more, please send Kwame a text message.
All right.
Like that, you know. But you can go on to the CDD Ghana, you know, www.cddgh.org.
Yeah.
And, you know, you get more information. You can get to us.
I get
so you can get our numbers on Google, whatever.
Yeah.
There is an event that we are doing with Gimpa, which is an interesting one.
Okay.
It's almost like an art exhibition. It's called The Evolution of Dreams.
Wow. Evolution of Dreams.
Of Dreams.
Wow.
And it's just a very simple concept of trying to recognize, you know, the journey, the starting point for all the great things that people do in life. Whether even as an institution, and I think even Joy FM is a multimedia, is one of the organizations that the Evolution of Dreams is targeting, because you've been here for so long, but how did that little dream start?
Okay.
And what kind of journey then you have to take to bring yourself to that? So it's celebrating the struggles.
Wonderful.
So with Gimpa and the Dare Center and all of those things from August 24th. But these are the kinds of things that we believe we give also platforms.
Good.
You know, to creatives to even give us more than just entertainment.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Right. So that was Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante, Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement at CDD Ghana. Thanks so much for your time. And as we go ahead,
invite me more.
We'll be bringing you into the studio to talk more about Democratives. Thanks so much. And then to you, Jonah, for that support for creatives and democracy here. Joy 99.7 FM, Showbiz A to Z.